I remembered that my soul chose to come to Earth. I remembered where I was before I was born.
What made me come back was that I had agreed to do this before I was born.
Why are we here? To learn to love.
I was in a beautiful, beautiful field. The flowers were so vibrant and alive.
And I realized I was looking at none other than Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
I found myself not only forgiving her, there actually, after seeing everything so clearly and seeing why she was the way she was and who she really was on a soul level, after seeing that, there wasn't even a need to forgive her. It was just a big, oh, I get it now.
So if I had committed a loving action, it was like love upon light. A purely loving action was the most wonderful thing that I could ever achieved in my life.
NDEs, or near-death experiences, are stories of those who have briefly crossed the threshold of death but were resuscitated. Testimonies reveal experiences of the realm beyond death. Decades of reports of NDEs from patients and doctors have been collected. Select experiences share esoteric insights into understanding the nature of the life after life and shine a light on the great questions of the human soul.
He was looking at me. I was feeling so much love, and I knew his eyes, the way he was looking at me, his eyes are like almost like laser beams, but yet pools of love, just such beauty and kindness in his eyes. But yet he was looking at me like in the spirit, and I knew he was scanning my life from birth to death. So he was just looking at my whole life. And then he's just talking to me. We're just conversing back and forth, and I don't remember yet still all of the conversation, but I do know and I believe that the Lord has shown me that it's as if all this is in a time capsule, and much of it will still be revealed when I'm able to hear it, when it's time, because this is the way it's kind of come about over these years. Anyway, and of course I'm just letting him know I do not want to leave. I want to stay. I want to go with you. I want to stay here. Because looking in his eyes, most beautiful, it's like this is home. Every question, every desire that you'd ever have was in his eyes. It was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm not leaving. I want to stay. But then he told me immediately, he said, no. He said, you need to go back. It's not your time. And you have not yet completed the blueprint I have for your life. And Satan tried to interrupt it, to stop it. And you need to complete that. But I just kept insisting, I want to stay. Then he was just trying to persuade me. But he talked to me a lot about the power of the will. In other words, he was telling me, you have to choose. I can't choose this for you. You have to make this decision. I gave you the power of will and the importance of our will. And he said, you have to choose. It has to be, it needs to be your choice. You can stay, but you have to make that choice. I still just did not want to. Then he started showing me, all of a sudden I look and I see these like little twinkling mists of light, almost like a smoke, but it's like little twinkling lights, sparkling, coming by, and I could feel they were like pulling on me. I could feel a pull back. And I thought, what is that? He said, those are the prayers that are being prayed for you from from your family. They're praying for you, and I need to answer those prayers. They're praying for you to return. And I literally, that experience alone, I know now the power of prayers are you can feel. And so I said, well, yes, okay. And then he started talking. It's like I could see also, it was like a scene would just come. He was showing me different things, trying to persuade me to go back. All of a sudden, it's like I see my mother. It's like I'm seeing my mother there on the earth. And she's praying, and she's, crying, and I'm seeing her, and he says, your mother needs you. And I said, yeah, well. And he says, he said that, so you need to go back with your family. And then I just was still resisting. Then the next thing, it's like I'm all of a sudden, I'm in my own funeral. I'm in a casket. It's like I'm back on the earth, and I'm in a casket in a church at my own funeral. The flowers on top, I would just rise up through those flowers and look around, seeing who all was there, just seeing, the situation. And I would go back, looking at all these people, and I could see, of course, such grief and sorrow and tears, and just a very heavy, bad feeling. And then, I experienced that for just a little bit, but it really did feel just like, it was real, as if I had died. Then I'm back in heaven. Or that scene's over. And he shows, and he says, is this what you want? He said, do you want that? And I said, no. I don't want to bring all that kind of sorrow and grief and everything. He said, well, if you don't go back, this is what it will be. So he was using this to show me. And so I was thinking about all this, and I said, well, yeah, I know, but I just don't want to leave. I want to stay here. And then finally he said, well, if you don't go back and you stay, it won't be like you think. And that kind of got my attention. And I thought, oh, well, all this time, it's like I'm just still going toward him, and he's moving backward, and we're almost all the way to this big one, huge pearl gate. It's just one huge pearl. And I'm seeing that we're about, the city's right at the entry, right into the city, where all the buildings and everything are. And he says, no. He says, don't come any further. You need to go back. You need to decide. He said, because if you stay, you won't be able to go back. And he said, it won't be like you think, and then he stretched his arm to the left. He said, because over here, you'll be in outer darkness. And of course, that alarms me. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, hell? You mean I won't make it? Well, I don't believe that's what he meant now, but because the way when he pointed his left, so I looked to my right, and it looked like almost like an opening, like into this dark space, like outer space, just dark.
What happened to you?
Well, I was in the Army. I was 20 years of age, and I was pronounced dead from double whole heart pneumonia. They know that I was dead 9.5 minutes because he told the ward boy to take me to the morgue, but the ward boy thought he saw something move, so he asked him to come back and check me over, and he told him I was just as dead the second time as I was the first. And then he did give a shot of adrenaline directly into the heart, and 4 days later I became humanly conscious again.
What happened during those 9 minutes? Who did you see? What happened?
John, this is why I've written this book.
Yes.
I met the Christ because I was told to stand up. You're in the presence of the Son of God. He came into my room, and he conducted me through 4 different realms of life after death. He really brought out 3 things that changed my life, and I think was a major reason he told me I had to come back, because I didn't want to come back here.
You didn't want to come back?
No, I absolutely did not.
What are the 3 things?
All right, the first thing, can you imagine being in the room with somebody who knows every single minute detail of your life and totally accepts you and totally loves you? And that's the first wonderful thing. I found out that the one person I'd been always taught to judge the quick and the dead was in the loving department instead of the judging department. The next thing that he showed me by taking me through 4 different realms of life after death is that you and my Father doesn't send us any place. the type of life we live here determines where we're going when we leave here.
It does determine.
Yes. He doesn't send us to heaven or hell or purgatory or anything else. But you don't leave, say, kindergarten here and start to university. You've got to go through grade school, intermediate school, high school, and the type of grades you make your interest determine which university you're going to.
So if you're a bastard, you don't get a good hereafter.
No, you
Cheer me up.
You really don't.
Yeah.
I don't think in your case I have to cheer you.
No, but I know a lot of people. I just want to make sure we're not going to meet again so fast. Go ahead.
Well, let me put it this way. Over here we have a saying, birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
Over there you have to flock together because it's too embarrassing to be with people who don't think the same way you do.
And George is going, that's right.
And you have mental telepathy over there, so you can't take somebody for a ride with your thoughts. What you actually think is instantaneously aware to them.
Right.
So you go to whatever realm you're best suited to go to.
All right. What? So now, give me the three things again,
All right. First, that we really do have, because Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen what the Father is like. We have a God of love.
A God of love.
Who's always for our good interest.
Right. Second,
that there are many different realms of life after death, not just two. But we go depending on what type of life and what our interest is here depends on where we start off over there.
And the third?
Third, that life really is forever. We don't die. Death is nothing more than just a gateway through which we go.
All the things that I thought were just some crazy old legend, it's real. It's a dimension that exists. It's something far beyond anything I could have ever imagined was happening to me.
Jim Woodford, an ambitious, self-made man, earned the nickname Diamond Jim. He was focused on providing a life of luxury for his family.
Nothing was too big of a problem. He could fix it.
I thought that that was my way of showing her how much I loved her, cared for our family, was by providing everything that I could.
But Lorraine, a Christian, prayed for something more.
God, please change his heart. Bring him to know Jesus Christ and just make a change in him and deal with this materialistic way.
Over the years, the money and materialism had started to consume Jim as he pulled away from his family.
I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would say to myself, is this all there is?
At 61 years old, Jim was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare incurable disease resulting in chronic pain.
Unremitting electrical current pain in every part of my body, accompanied with paralyzing inability to move.
For the next 5 years, Jim relied on prescription meds to manage the pain.
He was just getting to be a very angry person. The pain was just consuming him.
Never once, and this speaks to the arrogance, did I reach inside or look up to the sky and say, God, if you exist, help me out here. Not me, not Diamond Jim.
In April 2014, Lorraine said a desperate prayer for Jim's heart.
I said, God, I've been praying, but I haven't seen any change. Maybe you just have to break him to remake him. But be careful what you pray for.
Later that month, after taking more than 4 times his dosage, Jim went to inspect a field he was planning to sell. He says while sitting in his truck, he felt a growing, burning sensation in his legs.
And suddenly I realized I couldn't breathe. And it was as though the cab of the truck was filling with water. As I'm about to draw my last breath, from somewhere inside of me that I didn't even know existed, I cried out, God, forgive me. Forgive me.
When Jim didn't come home, Lorraine called the police. He was found in his truck unresponsive and was rushed to the hospital. Lorraine rallied friends and family to pray.
The head doctor came out and he said, your husband is severely brain damaged. There's no brain activity there. And he said, we have him on full life support because his organs have all shut down. He said, there is no way to bring him back. I was apologizing for praying what I prayed, but I didn't know it would come to this.
There was something else she didn't know. Since the attack, Jim had been experiencing a very different reality.
I look to the right, and there's this incredible vista of beautiful flowers and meadows. And I turn my vision to the left, and that beautiful green grass went from green to brown to scorched to black and dropped off in a crevasse. I saw the most hideous creature you could ever imagine. And I fell back in abject terror, the look of hatred in its eyes for me and all of mankind. But at this point, I turned toward the light, and I raised both hands this time, and I cried out, "God, help me, help me."
Then, Jim says 3 angels came and took him through heaven.
And I realized I was looking at none other than Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And he looked at me with those violet eyes, and all I heard was, "James, what did you do with the life my master gave you?" I had no answer. But as I looked into his eyes and he smiled at me, he knew me. I saw such intense love and forgiveness for me who deserved nothing. And that was the moment I was his forever. Whatever was about to become of me, I was his. I loved him, and he loved me.
Jim says he wanted to stay, but Jesus had other plans for him.
Go back and tell your brothers and sisters of the wonders we have shown you.
Where people initially arrive after death in NDE experiences does not necessarily reflect a permanent outcome. Our dwelling place in the spiritual dimension will reflect whether we have become a loving person through our life choices. Perhaps heaven would not be heaven without those who are prepared to make it heavenly. If we have lived in opposition to the ways of heaven, we may not be able to stay. We will eventually find ourselves with people who are like us, or those evil spirits that may have sway in our hearts. However, there is a way out through the mercy of God. In our next episode, we explore further how we could avoid a dark and terrible afterlife and assure for ourselves a place filled with love and joy.